So I say, tonight we're going to take a look at some halachas, Hilchos Shabbos, regarding the mitzvah of Tosfos Shabbos, adding from Chol to Shabbos. We all will take a sefer, Al Rebbe Shemara Chiluk Beis. Simereish Samach Aleph Sif Daled. Simereish Samach Aleph Sif Daled.
Reish Samach Daled.
Reish Samach Aleph Sif Daled. We're going to move around a little bit. Says the Alter Rebbe like this: Yesh shoymim shemitzvah seimen ha'Torah lohisif mechol ala kodesh be'isur mesiyas malach. There are those that say that it's a mitzvah seimen ha'Torah to add from chol to kodesh, and not in regards to not doing malacha. The Knesset Shabbos is Yom Tov v'tziyasim. When we enter Shabbos and Yom Tov, and when we leave Shabbos and Yom Tov.
What's this back? I'm sorry.
Reish Samach Aleph Sif Daled.
Daled. Okay. Beis Kuf Samachet. Make life easier? Okay, fine.
Shenema v'nisem es nafshei seichem v'ticha la'chodesh v'erev me'erev ad erev tishbu shebatcha. The pasuk says regarding Yom Kippur that a person that we should fast from the 9th day of the chodesh in the evening, from evening to evening, tishbu Shabbat. So the Alter Rebbe Yaschel b'Yisana b'Tisha. One would think in the Lashon of the pasuk Tisha that one should fast starting from the 9th day of Tishrei. It says in the evening, not after 9. I would think in the evening. I would think it's when it's dark already. If it's dark, it's already the 10th day of Tishrei. Tamalaymer b'Tisha. It's the 9th day. So how do these two fit together? HaKetzad Maschil Masana B'Yom. One should start to fast while it's still day. So that is the Pshat B'Tisha L'Chodesh Be'erev. It's Tisha. On the other hand, it's Be'erev. It's close to the night, the evening close to the nightfall. Mikan, from here you see Shemesifim Mechel HaKodesh. There's a mitzvah to add on Mechel HaKodesh by Yom Kippur. Kippur. Ein li ala b'knisasei. From here I only see that when you enter Yom Kippur you have to add. B'yitzias minayim, when Yom Kippur goes out, Mitzvah Yom Kippur, where do I know I have to add Moisei Mechel HaKodesh? Tamalaymer mei erev ad erev. It says in the pasuk mei erev ad erev, from one evening to the next evening. We see that even the next night you also have to add. I only know from here Yom Kippur. The pasuk is talking about Yom Kippur. Yom Tov menayin. Time aloymer tishbesu Shabbatchem. Tishbesu. Shabbos is menayin. Time aloymer, the extra word Shabbatchem. HaKetzad kol bakish and Shvos. Anytime it says in the Torah the word Shvos, that one should rest. One has to add Mechel HaKodesh, say before and say after. Now the ending in the next Sif Hey.
Is this talking about picking Shabbos earlier?
Yeah.
Or being fell from 6 o'clock? Or just talking about 5-10 minutes?
Let's take a look. Sif Hey. In the middle of Sif Hey, the line starts with Gimel Milan. V'azman hazeh. This time period before Ben Hashmashas, if you want to make it entirely Tosfos Shabbos, you can. Last minute mixas, one can do part of it, only part of it. Person just adds some amount of time, which is before Ben Hashmashas. It's Vadiyim. Ben Hashmashas is not included in this time period. Midiraisi and Al Malacha Ben Hashmashas. It's Safek Deraisi. The time in Moisei Mechel HaKodesh is before Ben Hashmashas. A time is Vada Yoim Mechel HaKodesh. Ben Hashmashas and Nashal B'Tosfos. She's Safek Laila. V'asa b'mimalachim and atayra b'loim mitzvahs teisefes. Now, over here it doesn't say how much. Sometime.
After plug. You can't do anything before plug starts.
Can't do anything before a plug. Continues on Alter Rebbe. Mereitz lahaktim l'kalatis the Shabbos plug mincha l'mayla. One wants to go earlier, all the way from back from plug mincha on. Dahainu, what does he plug mincha? Shah or Reviya zmanis kenu alayla, an hour and a quarter for the night. For mincha ketana is 2.5 hours before the night. For shkia. Plug mincha means half. Plug mincha is half of that, an hour and a quarter. But it's not an hour and a quarter. It doesn't mean an hour 60 minutes. It doesn't mean 75 minutes. It means zmaniyos, the relative hour that day, an hour and a quarter. Like it says here, Shor of zmaniyos. Koidim alayla v'shus biyadei v'nes v'mesiyas malacha. You're going to be also mesiyas malacha. Adam kibel koidim plaga mincha. Ein kabbalah se klum u'muta b'siyas malacha. There's different discussions as to how much one needs to add for Tosfos Shabbos, the different shittas. The Chaim Mo holds that you have to add 4 minutes. I think the Avi Nezer held that way as well. There were other days that held a half hour, a different time. L'maisa, it's mashaf and Alter Rebbe that any time you add a few minutes.
Starting from what again? From what time?
When are you allowed to start adding from plagim and chanon?
No, but I mean...
When do you have to add?
No, he said that by Bein HaShmashos it's also when Lach anyway, so you're not doing anything. So it has to be
Before Bein HaShmashos.
It has to be
Before Shkia.
Before Shkia,
Yeah.
you have... so like when we light candles, it's 18 minutes before Shkia, and then we like say, Shabbos and all that, so that's good.
That's good, it's excellent, except in some houses where
Well,
one
you make
person...
it tonight sometimes. You have to take the elevator downstairs.
Yeah. By the way, making a Tanai...
Still gives you a nice few minutes.
Yeah, but the Tanai only gives you 10 minutes tonight. The Tanai...
Oh, I think we discussed this
We discussed it.
But I don't know, there must be a sheet, because I know the lady spoke to the co-cell.
My boss?
Well, I don't know, but, the light candle.
I don't know, maybe there's other shittas, but according to the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the halacha is azoi. One is allowed to... You don't want to... Okay, let's stick to Tosfos Shabbos. L'maisa, let's take a look. Siman Reish Samach Zayin. So Rabbi, this is a mitzvah asay minat Torah that one should add. Over here, the Alter Rebbe used the word yesh oimrim, but in other places he says it as a fact that this is the halacha that you have to. We cannot go into Shabbos. We cannot go to Shabbos kuchut asayda of a hair's breadth. We have to stop a few minutes before.
When did it start? When did it start? When for Black afternoon I could take a 5 minutes of Shabbos?
Plagim milchanon.
That means an hour and a half before Shkia?
An hour and a quarter.
An hour and a quarter before Shkia, and then I can start. So
Yeah.
people make it number.
They're not allowed to make earlier than plagim
So
milchanon.
how come people make 6 o'clock Shabbos over here? It's 2 hours before. It's way too much.
No, because it's the shoy's manias.
And the only thing we do is
We have to know when is Neitzach Chama. I'll tell you a plagim milchis. Whenever you know when is sunrise today.
right.
You look in the paper, it says sunrise, and when it says sunset, and you divide that time period by 12, and that's considered a Shah's manias hour. It's more than an hour. Because a day is now much more than the...
It's almost an hour and a half.
It's like something like 10 to 7.
So an hour and a quarter means that an hour and a half plus a quarter of the hour and a half.
Right. That's why they make it 6 o'clock. So
Yeah.
it should be okay.
No one makes it at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, Chaim Berlin, 6:30.
Daven mincha at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, but usually they like...
Because they plan the mincha to go into
Chaim Berlin takes an early Shabbos.
They have
Most of
early, they
them-
have
most of
this,
the
in the winter
Shiur-
time
Not
they
the
have
yeshiva,
six.
not the yeshiva.
Most of
Yeshiva
them.
does not.
The Chaim Berlin, the alumni, the alumni have a 6:30 minute.
The alumni.
Most of them is Shabbos.
But Shiva does, they also have a regular.
The yeshiva does not have it early.
Are there any Chassidish shuls there?
Yeah, there is a Chassidish.
What few?
Yeah, but a lot of them,
The rov is considered.
some of them make...
Yeah, but he
They
davens
have
his
2
own. He
million.
davens late.
Most Hasidic people have 2 million. An early minion and a later one.
Any fully Chassidish shul Shiva here that the people that down there also Chassidim or no? Just
There's
that.
fair, there's care.
The Talmud
The
Shabbos.
people who daven there are modern from Fed, but it's not.
Right.
They have some strength.
Like the Baruch over here, no, you don't have. I know the issues.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but some of them.
Rabbi Isai, we're going to try to get a clarity this
In
evening.
spot that's there. Seriously?
Let's take a look. Siman Reish Samach Zayin. Page Reish Tezayin. We're going to skip page Reish Tezayin.
Okay.
Sif Aleph. Noye gin shalip up name after Mincha or Shabbos. Our minig is we don't say Tachan after Mincha or Shabbos. Reish Samach. Siman Reish say Samach Zayin. Page Reish Tezayin. Sif Beis. Noye gin will hack in Tfilos Arvis. Yoi Sivi Mois Achoil. The minig is to be makdim davening Ma'ariv earlier than during the week. Benachenhu, this is a proper minig. Kedei v'hakdim Kabbalah Shabbos b'chol ma she'efsher. One should take in Shabbos as early as one could. V'akshehei miplaga mincha l'maylo, like we just learned in Siman Reish Samach Aleph and Reish Samach Gimel. Now before we go on to the next part of the sif, let's give a little hakdama. We one time spoke a little bit about this. During the week, there's different minhagim when to daven mincha ma'ariv. There's a machlekes tanoim, the Bihud and Chachamim. The Yehuda holds that from Plaga Minchan on is considered nightfall for the purpose of Tfilas Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv is midrabanan. One is allowed to daven Ma'ariv from Plaga Minchan on. It's Laila.
That's an hour and a quarter before Shkia?
Yeah.
Okay.
A relative hour and a quarter.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's a little more.
This time of the year it's more. In the winter it's now the Shita of Yehuda is that Laila once it is Plaga Mincha for Tefillah purposes.
No, because
However,
that mincha before
So
Plag.
Mincha you have to do Mincha you have to have before Plag. Because Plaga Mincha on is Ma'ariv. The Chacham say no. It's up until Shkia. It's day. You can daven Mincha up until Shkia. And when are you supposed to daven Ma'ariv? After Tzeitzah Gicha.
Right.
So each one has a kula with it, right? The Rabbi Yehuda's kula is that you could daven Ma'ariv for Plagim Mincha on. The Chachamim's kula is that you could daven Mincha up until Shkia. According to Yehuda, you're not allowed to daven Mincha up to Shkia, only up to Plag. The halacha, the Gemara says there is no psak halacha between these two. There's no hachro.
Keep both, either or.
Not Yekipo, but the Uda Kemarav, the Kemarav. You mean to say is that either one you could choose to go like either one. Either Chacham or Yehuda, because there was no psak given.
But Chacham are the majority.
You can't switch off 1 week one way, 1 week another. That's what
Oh.
I'm saying.
However,
Pick
what
and
is
choose.
not, like if you're saying you're not supposed to do, you're not supposed to contradict oneself in your psak.
Oh.
You're supposed to accept the shita, and that's the shita that you abide by. Now,
Wait, this is in the weekdays?
during the weekday, before we get to Shabbos.
In other words, the machlokas is what? That
When is nightfall? When is it considered nightfall? The purposes of tefillah. Yeah.
You're also allowed
A
to-
Meyer for Mincha, according to Yehuda, it's nightfall when it hits Plaga Mincha. You're no longer allowed to daven Mincha, and you're allowed to daven
So
Meyer.
according to Yehuda, because
According
Shabbos,
to Chachamim, you're allowed to daven Mincha up until Shkia, Meyer if you daven after Tzeis.
so according to
why does
Yehuda,
Rabbi Yehuda do it Kriya Shema B'Chasam?
He says also Kriya Shema you have to daven later. Kriya Shema you have to say
Oh,
later.
he said, oh,
Say it all.
I hear.
Only for Derabanan, for Tefillah. For something Deraisa,
Oh,
I mean, according to Yehuda, Shabbos starts by
Lamashal also by Spheres Oimer,
Yehuda
we're
said you have
careful.
to
We're
say
careful
it
not to say for Plagim in Chanan that tonight is going to be
Right, you have to do it later.
now. This is during the week. However, even though we say whoever, if you want, you can go like a Yehud. If you want, you go like a Chavim. You cannot. You're not supposed to go like both opinions. You're supposed to pick an opinion. That means not one day. Monday I go like Rabbi Yehuda and I daven Ma'ariv after Plag, before Shkia, before Tzeis. And Tuesday I'm going to daven Mincha after Plag. Then you're taking both kulas. You're taking both leniencies. And these are kulas shesois vezuazu. Shtei kulas hasois zu. It's a contradiction. However, there's even a greater contradiction. That's one level of contradicting yourself. There's a bigger stira. As one, what happens in the very day itself? One davens mincha after plag, and then davens ma'ariv right away. Comes out that he did a contradiction in the very same day itself. When he davened mincha after plag, he showed that he followed the kachamim. When he davened ma'ariv right away, then he was showing he went like Das of Yehuda.
So that's what you have in the businesses in Manhattan, where they have the minion, like, when you go home.
So Lamaisa, this is a very big shaila. So there's two levels. There's a level, the basic, the most chomer dika contradiction is when you do it in the very day itself.
Yeah.
And then there is, when the very day itself you do not contradict yourself. However, during the week, from one day to another, from one week to another week, you contradict yourself, but not in the very same day itself. This minig that you see by certain places, that they are mekel, that they daven mincha ma'ariv right after one another,
Other places.
is nicht azay pashut. It's not. You're not supposed to do that.
They do that after clock. They do both.
It's not.
Talmud Torah, all these
All the
shuls.
Yisraels.
You're not supposed to do it.
Because that, yeah.
Otherwise, it will
Actually,
Well,
they wait till after Shkia. A lot of them wait till
Oh,
after Shkia.
okay. The daven mincha or shkim da ma'ariv after.
Before Shkia and then down
Right.
Okay, then
That's a little bit better. It's a little better. It's a suffix already been. A shmash is man. It's a little better. But there's no shaila about it. It's not lechatchila. Not like the
What
Alter Rebbe,
about
not
the-
like the
what
Mishabur.
about the
You're
ones
talking
that
about
mincha
Shas Chak
after?
out of town. You're in a place where you're maybe Manhattan, in certain places where if you're not going to let them daven ma'ariv after mincha, they're going to make
won't
a
have a
break in
minyan.
between. No one's showing up. Everyone's going home after mincha, and that's it for the night. We don't know if they're going to daven mincha ma'ariv, they're not going to daven ma'ariv, and we don't know, they're sure they're not coming from a minyan. So it's going to be misbatel, the whole concept of tefillah b'tzibur in these cities. So in these cases, will allow to have this the stira that on one hand we're going like Ibn Chacham, and then attack in this case where they're doing it after Shkia, so at least you have after Ben Hashmash, it says already during Ben Hashmash it's Ma'ariv, so it's a Safik Yom Safik Light. Lamais is Zicher in a place like here, it's not something that should be done.
It's not
What
Now-
about, what about the ones that daven mincha after Shkia? They wait after Shkia to daven mincha, like spare.
No, there are certain people that follow the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam, which is the Shita, by the way, that the Alter Rebbe says over here. That was a shtickle we skipped out. They said, Machalav, I didn't want to read it because it's complicated.
So
The
you
Shita
hold-
of Rabbeinu Tam, the Alter Rebbe held the Shulchan Aruch like Rabbeinu Tam.
They should. That you could do it. It doesn't say
Sounds
You
you
should keep
should.
Shabbos Nakaben on top.
72 minutes.
Not talking about keeping Shabbos, talking about mincha.
Take in Shabbos. What about taking in Shabbos?
Shabbos, of course, it's better to keep a better time. But then you're moist.
No, the Vel takes on, even those Yidden that follow Rabbeinu Tam, when it comes to Shabbos, so the Inyan, they can also take in Shabbos late.
They don't.
They don't.
They call you.
No,
They're machmer in the Surah Shabbos. They're machmer in the Surah Shabbos the other way. But that was not the way it was when they were in Europe and Hungary. In those places where they went like Ibn Atam, it was Chassam Sofer, they went all the way.
Well, Shabbos.
Shabbos taken later.
Shabbos.
Shabbos is taken later.
Now 5 minutes. 5
The
minutes.
people should know that the tshuva of the Divrei Yoel, the Satmar Rav has a tshuva. He writes there that one is supposed to be machmer. To be choishish for the other shita when it comes to Chilul Shabbos, the Raisa, that he should be makdim Shabbos earlier, like the whole Velt does. But the way it was, Amol, they say that in Europe, in those places that kept the Benetams, the Benetam was all the way. That's the shita of Alter Rebbe and Shulchan Aruch. The shita, he doesn't say he should be machmer. That's the shita in Shulchan Aruch.
I don't know.
But we don't.
The Alter Rebbe does say the Tosfos Shabbos.
Also, people who take Rabbeinu Tam, and Dr. Rebbe said do it earlier, I mean in the regular time, that's what we do now with Ben Shabbos.
The Talmud Shabbat waits on Shabbos.
Yeah, the Alter Rebbe does say. The Alter Rebbe also says that they're those that are machmer.
It's after Shkia, it's not mincha.
Now, Maisa, why am I bringing in the sin Abba Yisai? Shabbos, the Alter Rebbe is going to say now, we never just not read, it's a mitzvah to take in Shabbos early, and we learned that earlier in Reish Samachal. Over here he mentioned in the base that the minig is that they used to daven ma'ariv earlier, not only taking on Shabbos b'dibur, the peh, they used to take it in with the tefillah, daven ma'ariv early, as long as they're plagim in chanan. Alter Rebbe is meshapeach the minig. However, we know if you're davening ma'ariv earlier Shabbos, that means you're following the opinion of Yehuda. But a whole week long, what happens if a whole week long you're following the opinion of Chacham? You were davening mincha up until Shkia. How could you now daven ma'ariv, taking Shabbos soon, daven ma'ariv and plagim in chanan? Says Alter Rebbe, even those that daven ma'ariv on time, it says to come an entire week. Yachul lahaktim ber Shabbos is spal plagim mincha l'mayla k'divrei Yehuda shoyim plagim mincha l'ayling in tefillah. Erev Shabbos one is allowed to be mekel and to follow Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Yafshel apamim b'shar yamim ispal mincha b'zmanahu. L'chor, there are times during the week that you sometimes daven mincha during that time period after plagim mincha. V'rein shtei kules hasois v'zu there are two kulas. You're grabbing on the kula of the chachamim a whole week. You're davening mincha up until shkia. And you're taking the kula of Yehuda Erev Shabbos to daven ma'ariv early. Commission is bar b'simah reish lamed gimel b'simah discusses dinei ma'ariv. Ein choishin zelav until Erev Shabbos. We're not concerned with this issue when it comes to davening ma'ariv Erev Shabbos. Why not? Since she's mitzvah, since you're doing a mitzvah by davening ma'ariv early, we disregard the fact that you've created a stira. The fact that you did shtei kulis hasois v'zu. As you recall, there are two levels, we spoke of, there are two levels in the shtei kulis hasois v'zu. There is that the rest of the week, one day a week, you did like a Yehuda, the next day you do like a Chacham. That's a steer from one day to the next. Then there's in the very same day itself, you do a steer where you daven mincha after plag, and then you daven ma'ariv before shkia. So it comes out in the very same day itself you're creating a steer. That's much more of a chomer dik steer. This is the Alter Rebbe. Erev Shabbos, when you take in Shabbos early, we're matter you the first kula. That you're allowed to daven ma'ariv early and follow the opinion of Yehuda on Erev Shabbos into the whole week. You daven mincha during that time. So you're contradicting yourself. Right. However, the second level, the more chomer dike shtei kulas hasois v'zu. That in the very day itself you're going to daven mincha after plag, Erev Shabbos, and still daven ma'ariv early, that you shouldn't do. That you don't have a shus to do. That's what he says. On that very day itself, when you're not having mincha after plagim mincha, when you're not do it in one day itself. No, not in this case.
Because it's like a pellet, you know. Where do we find other mitzvahs that we have one? Sometimes we keep the other shit. It's like very weird. Or maybe because this is only the Rabbanan.
Because basically, yeah, yes, the Rabbanan.
This is the rice. You can't have two different cheetahs.
No, if you have a suffix in a deraisa, you would have to go on a chomer. If you have a suffix in a Rabbanan, we say a person can choose which way they want it. And reality is, al pi din, if someone did, even in the very day itself, daven ma'ariv, mincha after plag, and daven ma'ariv right afterwards, mincha did is yoytz. Because each one he did, each tefillah he did, he had someone to be sending for.
Yeah.
However, there's still an ism Rabbanan to do that, because
Time to the satzvah.
Right. You're paying time to the satzvah. So we say, Erev Shabbos, we're matter to you the first stage of Taita B'Sasri. That the whole week you were davening mincha after plag, and now you davening ma'ariv, so you were soising yourself. The whole week like a Chacham, now like a Yehuda. That we're matter you, because it's a mitzvah to Mezul Chelogich. To matter you the second level of Taita B'Sasri. That in the very day itself, you're gonna daven mincha, allow you to daven mincha after plag, and daven ma'ariv Erev Shabbos after plag, we're not gonna allow you to do that. That's what he said.
Listen, you also can accomplish the Haytais of Shabbos without doing a stira. You can be Kabul Shabbos, Haytais of Shabbos, and down Ma'ariv later.
Very good.
It's not hechrech that you have to do this.
What you're saying is, it says, Let's.
Kabbalah Shabbos.
That's in the
you
next
can
few
do it.
lines.
Yeah, then you can take your time.
In a few lines, we're going to read. There's two separate
Right.
things. There's
Place of
Ma'ariv.
Shabbos and down Ma'ariv.
There's Ma'ariv and Tosfos Shabbos. They are two separate things. You can be Makabel Shabbos without B'dibur, but without actually davening Ma'ariv.
That's what a Rav told me to do. Rav
Yeah,
told
we
me
do that in the
Wednesday, the Shiur.
Maratán
They start
Yeshuvim,
for
Meir Sharim.
Just before Bochu, they stop.
Yeah,
The Rav give a Shiur for half an hour,
yeah.
and then Bochu.
No, but there is a little
Maratán
different.
Yeshuvim we do that. But they daven because don't forget Yerushalayim starts 40 minutes earlier. They
No, the minute is
Kabbalah
L'poyel.
Shabbos. Then we learn the Chassidus.
No, L'poyel. That L'poyel. I don't think that's the reason. The Alter Rebbe writes when those who daven Ma'ariv early, when they say L'chol Naranana, they're not Makabel Shabbos. That's what you say that we're getting ready for Shabbos. Let's go out and greet the Shabbos. The Kabbalah Shabbos is when you say Baruch Hu. That means they.
Shabbos.
Later, after.
Yeah.
So
They
that's
want. What are they
Ma'ariv
trying to do? I'll
Then
explain
that's
to you.
Ma'ariv.
Yeah. You know what? Let's finish the sif. We have a lot more to discuss. Let's finish the sif. We're going to get to all these shilas. First of all, those people that do this, you have to remember, says Alter Rebbe, Gam Sof Lizar Likas Krishma. Not only should you not daven mincha after Plag, but also you have to remember to say Krishma at night. Because Rabbi Yehuda's opinion only helps for Ma'ariv, not for Krishma. So Deraisa. And you know what he said out there? In reality, you can even push off the brachas. You can take the brachas and Krishma and push it off for night. I mean, just daven Shemana Esrei Ma'ariv before, after Plag. V'yochu gamkim v'kroisa b'laylam b'chisel. U'v'oid yoim, and during the day, spala tefillah shabbat, just daven Shemana Esrei b'loy Krishma b'chisel. You're getting yourself now into another issue.
That's right.
God, Yisrael is always putting a tefillah because you have to be saying geula l'tefillah.
Right.
Now Shkivenu was considered part of God Yisrael. It's geula richti, so it's not a hefsek. But the shayla is over here. If you're going to remove all the krishma and all its brachas and push it off till night, you're not going to be saying God Yisrael next to Shemon Esrei. Still in all the same, over here we also could be lenient. The mitzvah of adding Mechol HaKodesh is more important than Smichas Gula Tefillah. Since that's your kavana, you're allowed to not be saying Gula Tefillah. Just like you're allowed to create the three kulas associated from one day to another. We're doiche that because the mitzvah Ma'aseh Mechel HaKodesh. We're also doiche the concept of smichas gula tefillah. L'maaseh l'poil, I believe that the minig is all those that daven Ma'ariv early don't push off Kriya Shema and brachas later.
Right.
They say Kriya Shema and brachas earlier. They say gula tefillah, and later at night they say Kriya Shema again. It doesn't. The Alter Rebbe does not say you're not allowed to say Kriya Shema with brachas earlier. He just says if you want, you could say the brachas later. Now, yeah.
What do you lose? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Say, yeah, you know, you
Now.
don't do that. Except if you walk into a minyan, they're started already. They started Shemoneh, you can daven with them. And
Here-
then you go back and daven.
The Alter Rebbe says in the next few lines that the point that Yosef was bringing up earlier, that even though you're allowed to daven Ma'ariv early, even though you're creating a stira, for the mitzvah Ma'aseh Mechel HaKodesh you're allowed, but you don't have to daven Ma'ariv early. If you want, you can just be Mekabel Shabbos without the Tfilos Arvis. Mikol Malkim Eroitzel V'Spal Gama Tfilos Shel Shabbos Ba'Layla. You want to have a Ma'ariv at night, Rishus B'Yodei, you're allowed to. B'Yosef Mechel HaKodesh B'Lay Tfilah. Mitzvah Ma'aseh Mechel HaKodesh is not contingent on whether you have a Ma'ariv or not. You can be Ma'aseh without Tfilah. Even if you want to daven Ma'ariv Taka early, but even before that Ma'ariv you can make Ma'aseh Shabbos. I could stand up and B'lag Mincha and say I'm a Kabbalah Shabbos and I'm also Basiyas Malacha. I don't have to daven Ma'ariv, but I'll daven Ma'ariv in an hour, and I'll daven Ma'ariv also during the day. So that one has nothing to do with the other. So in reality, one can be yoitz of the minig of Ma'aseh Mechel HaKodesh by davening, even by the Kabbalah Shabbos itself without the tefillah. L'maaseh l'poil, the minig by us is we do not daven Ma'ariv Shabbos early. We don't take in Shabbos. The Chassidim don't take in Shabbos early. Litvish take in Shabbos early. Chassidim don't take in Shabbos early. There's a klal.
What's the reason?
What's the reason for that? It's a good shayla. The reason is al pi Kabbalah. Because reality is, when you open up the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, you open up Poskim, Alpi Nigla.
You're allowed.
Alpi Nigla, not only you're allowed to,
Better.
there's an thing in it. There's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with davening Ma'ariv early, and it's a beautiful thing.
Tosfos Shabbos.
Like Tosfos Shabbos. However, Alpi Kabbalah, Chassidim follow Kabbalah. Alpi Kabbalah, the Arizal used to wait for Ma'ariv for night. There's a mitzvah being Mois Mechel HaKodesh. Like the Alter Rebbe just explained, you can accomplish that without Ma'ariv. You could say, I'm Mekabel a few minutes before Shabbos, I'm Mekabel Tosfos Shabbos. But one has to be careful. Those that take daven early Ma'ariv, they always are yoitz in the mitzvah of Kabbalah Tosfos Shabbos. But us, who we await till Tzeisik Yecham daven Ma'ariv, so people can forget of the mitzvah being Mois Mechel HaKodesh, mitzvah deraisa. So we can't forget that we shouldn't go into Shabbos, Mamash Azoi, the last second. It used to be in Europe there was a concept called 4 minutes. That meant the Alter Rebbe writes in Shulchan Aruch, and he writes in the Siddur, that there's something called Shkia HaNiris and Shkia HaMitis. There's when it seems to be Shkia and when it's really Shkia. Seems to be Shkia means when I look, seems to be the sun set, but if I go up on top of a mountain, I would see the sun didn't set yet. I can still see the sun, but I'm standing on a low place, so I don't see. So the Alter Rebbe said that the difference between the Shkia HaNiris and the Shkia HaMitis is 4 minute difference. L'mais, however, we cannot take the 4 minute rule. According to most poskim, you cannot apply this around the world. The Alter Rebbe was talking about in Russia, in those areas where he lived. For those mountains, the highest point in that region, when you stood on top of that mountain, it was 4 minutes later after when you were standing on the ground level. You had 4 minutes. As well in Eretz Yisrael, the mountains in Eretz Yisrael. However, what about in New York and other areas? It's a different situation. So you can't apply the same thing that applies there in other places. Therefore, there are those that want to mashar that you have 2 minutes.
You go to the Freedom Tower.
You go up to an apartment building next door, yeah.
No, go to the Freedom Tower. It's probably 3 minutes.
Maybe these towers are higher than the mountains?
Yeah.
They are?
I think so.
Higher than the highest mountain in the area?
Not in the area.
There is no
by
mountains
the Alter
here.
Rebbe. No, the highest mountain is you can see from the Empire State Building. You can see Muncie. You can see Route 59 at the street, but right above it, from New York.
Yeah? Try. Straight up.
Absolutely, it's 30 miles. You see clearly. The Shiur is, but over there it's only 2 minutes. Muncie Shkia is 2 minutes later.
What I've heard for those that are bucking is most Rabbanim do not know this. This is cheshbonus. Only a few people in the world that know these things.
It's the rice over here.
Yeah, so some say that in New York it's 2 minutes. It's a big machlokes about it.
Shulaim.
At Yisrael, I'll tell you right, you have 4 minutes. Now, the problem is like this, there's other issues over here. We don't have, those days, the way how they figured out Shkia was, they used to literally look and see when Shkia is. We don't do that anymore. We have a calendar. But we're not sitting and watching when a Shkia. We're not in tune with nature.
No, they couldn't make their own time calculations. Now they wouldn't do it.
They had, but they weren't. What the cheshbonus they were doing were api cheshbonus of Torah. What are the cheshbonus today that the calendars use? They're not cheshbonus of Torah. They're the cheshbonus of the Navy.
That's it.
They look on the Navy. They go to the Navy website. On the Navy website, it says when the nautical sunset is. When the boats, when they see on the sea that the sun has went below, that's when it's. So therefore, there's many sveikis today. If we really do have time after the shkia that we're using in the Navy. And not only that, there's some people, one time maybe mentioned, there was a Muslim person that they needed to know for their own cheshbonus when is exactly this manim. So he was a scientist and he tied that the Navy cheshbon is off by a few minutes. So therefore, we're not matir to do malacha past shkia. So therefore, there's an inyan to really be meisif before the shkia that says on the calendar. You meisif a minute or two, to meisif a chalak kedush.
What if you're going to daven mincha with the second million base menachem?
Oh, Now, two things.
But what do you do then?
Regarding mincha.
You'll let it be Makabel Shabbos and daven.
So regarding mincha that's so first of all, if you're davening after Shkia, say anyways it's bein hashmashos. So by the way, that's regardless whether you're Makabel Shabbos or not Makabel Shabbos, bein hashmashos you have to be Makabel Shabbos.
Right.
We're talking about Taisa Shabbos before bein hashmashos.
No, but I'm saying, but what if you?
What happens if you the shaila? What happens if someone's
Shabbos.
moist? There's a lot of discussion possible. What happens if you were moist in Mechel Kodesh? Can I now daven mincha?
That's what happened here.
So Mai said the Mishmeret Shalom, the Kaiden of a Rebbe, Friedeke, said that according to the Alter Rebbe, the way he understood the Alter Rebbe was that if you just said I'm being Makabel Shabbos early, Toisa Shabbos, one is still allowed to daven mincha. Because the Kabbalah of Toisa Shabbos is only when I'm taking during the time of Choy. I'm not saying it's night already. It's not night. It's still day. I'm taking Zman of Chayil, and during the Chayil, I'm adding time. I'm not going to do Malacha. But it's still Friday. It's still day. If I can still daven mincha, just I'm not doing Malacha. So there's no stira one with another. Masha'inkin, there's another level of Toisa Shabbos, which is called being mekab on yourself, the itzumi shel yoyim. The essence of the day is Shabbos itself. That level of Kabbalah Shabbos, someone does that second level of Kabbalah Shabbos, it mamish becomes Shabbos by him, and it's like as if it's night, and he wouldn't be allowed to daven mincha. An example of that would be, Lamoshel, if you made Kiddush. If someone made Kiddush, Kiddush is an act which is Shaychus to Shabbos. Not doing Malacha doesn't mean that it's Shabbos. It's not yet, it's Shabbos, it's not yet the day of Shabbos. It's Friday, but I'm not doing Malacha, I'm treating Friday like Shabbos.
What about lighting candles and matches in a hotel room alone?
Oh, now lighting Shabbos, now, so one second. So Kiddush is clear that the Alter Rebbe says Kiddush is a second level. Ma'ariv also. There's no kinds of davening mincha after Ma'ariv, but Ma'ariv and Kiddush are both pa'ulas that you do on Shabbos itself. You're davening a Shabbos davening, you're making Kiddush, a mitzvah Kiddush. After you did these pa'ulas, it's Mama Shabbos, it's Tzum Yishal. There's many shaylas that come up, l'mashal. If someone needs to, a woman needs to do a hefset taira, a bedika, can she do it? If she does it after Ma'ariv, after, and it's still day, but you daven Ma'ariv already, took in Shabbos, so I forgot to do it, can I still do it as a counter for today or not? This is a discussion, because it's negeya, Tzumei Shel Yoyim. We're mekel, l'chatchila we're machmir, but the other we're mekel because in Yonah Nida have no connection to Kabbalah Shabbos, it's two separate in Yonah. It's connected to the physical day. It's not yet night, it's not yet night. However, when it comes to mincha, so says the Mishmeret Shalom, just being Makabel Shabbos b'dibur, it's not yet the night yet. So therefore, there's no city could daven mincha. So if someone sees that he's going to daven mincha, and after mincha is going to be finished, it's going to already be shkia, he's not going to have time to Makabel the Meisif Bechel HaKodesh. Before he davens mincha, he should say, I'm being Makabel myself Shabbos, and daven mincha. Now, regarding Hadlakas Neidas, is a whole discussion whether or not Hadlakas Neidas Shabbos, what is the status? Is it the first form of Kabbalah or the second form of Kabbalah? What level of Kabbalah Shabbos is it? We know the minig is that it is considered a Kabbalah Shabbos.
For the woman.
For the women. By the
we
men, there's no such a minig.
We said we can't even ask the match because
Yeah.
already she can
So let's go back a step. The Shulchan Aruch is a machlokes whether or not Kabbalah Shabbos is when Hadlakas Neidas constitutes Kabbalah Shabbos. Now let's backtrack. So why should Hadlakas Neidas be a machlokes about it? Why is it not just like Kiddush and Ma'ariv, which as soon as you die for sure Shabbos? Why is Hadlakas Neidas not considered immediate? Why is it up to machlokes?
Because it's an Indian from Shalom Bayis, not Indian from Shabbos.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's not Tzum Shel Yoyim.
Hadlakas Neidas, you can't light candles on Shabbos. The mitzvah is not, there's no mitzvah to light candles on Shabbos. There's no mitzvah in the lighting, be'etzem. There is a mitzvah, but the point is that, right, my suda, I shouldn't be able to have an oinik Shabbos, not even in the dark. That's the point of the Shabbos night. Comes out, I'm only making a hachana. Didn't get it. So by my lighting candles, it's like in a way, like I'm setting the table, putting the challah on the tish. I'm getting everything ready.
You have to have an epic kavona mamish not to take on.
Oh, second. So kumtes, that hadlakas neder Shabbos is lav dafke, shows that I'm in Makabel Shabbos. It shows I'm getting ready for Shabbos. On the other hand, it does show I'm getting ready for Shabbos. I am saying that I'm now getting ready for Shabbos.
It's a pretty big
So
preparation.
it's a statement, right? A big statement that when are you going to light the candles? Not too early. You're going to light it when you're at the last minute. But you don't light candles early in the day. It's a waste of the candle. What do you need the candle in? It's day. So the Maisa it's a machlekes rishonim, whether it's Kabbalah Shabbos or not. The minig is that the women have accepted upon themselves to treat Kabbalah Shabbos.
From the
The halakha says like Kabbalah Shabbos.
Right.
It says when a man lights, there's no such a minig. The men will never makabel that. So therefore, like this, when a woman makabel
He doesn't even
Shabbos,
he doesn't even need it tonight.
no. Minadin, he does not need it tonight. However, lachatchili should use it tonight. It's better, you should say, a toiv. The Lashon Gemara is toiv to make it tonight, but he didn't make it tonight, it's no problem.
You should make it
You can do
verbal.
malacha.
To make it verbally, right? Rather than verbally.
Lucky if you do it today too.
Chura. I don't remember if it's verbal. It has to be verbal or not. I'm not sure if it has to be verbal. Now, by the way, even the ladies, when they make a tanai, it's not enough that it's just a tanai itself. And yois that there is an opinion that you that you are makabel Shabbos.
Automatically.
So automatically, so it's not going to help the tanai. The tanai is only that to help that we want to follow the opinion that says it's not a Kabbalah Shabbos. Because it's not Kabbalah Shabbos, but the women, their minig is to be makabel. So you're going to make a tanai that I'm not being makabel. I want to be samech on that opinion. But there's the other opinion too. So therefore, the halacha is only the tzayir gadol. When it's a tzayir gadol, you can make the tanai. You have two conditions. When you have a tanai, and when it's a tzayir gadol. Let's say she didn't have any time, let's say, to eat something, and she wants to eat something. And she got kids, man. So she make a tanai, or she needs to do something still. She take care of something, but she wants the light already, and then she has to go run somewhere, drive, do something. So she make a tanai, and let's say a gadol, she could do it. Now a man doesn't need a tanai, but l'chatoy, l'chatchili should say the tanai. There's one more point that I wanted to mention, even though you have to find out from your Pesach. The Alter Rebbe says, Hadlakas Nadis you have to be Makabel Shabbos miyad acher your light candles. So how does this all work together? If you Makabel Shabbos right miyad, then how can I say that tonight? And why do you have to Makabel Shabbos miyad, says Alter Rebbe? Because you have to show that these candles were lit with covered Shabbos. Because people light candles in their house even during the day because their room is dark. They don't have good windows. There wasn't good lighting. They weren't able to see properly, or it was getting close to the evening. People lit candles. People light candles during the Suda. So what's the raya that you're lighting a covered Shabbos? The raya is that right afterwards you stop doing malacha. So how could the women do malacha? So Alter Rebbe explains that the term miyad in Shulchan Aruch doesn't mean literally right away. Miyad has a sheer zman. And he says the time that it takes to roast a fish. That they list his dog cotton. What is that sheer? He says it's, I think, Reb Chaim Noah, the Ksas HaShulchan, it was Bala Shiurim, he said the sheer is 10 minutes. That means within 10 minutes after you're lighting, it's considered miyad. So you have to make it tonight. The woman needs to make it tonight. And it has to be the tzedek gadol. And she has to, within the 10 minutes, accept Shabbos. Now, the same thing with the man. If
So
he's
she has
lighting,
9 minutes.
he has 10 minutes.
So she has 9 minutes, 59 seconds.
Yeah. Now, however, let's say she needs the full 18 minutes for some reason. As long as someone in the household, whether he's lighting or she's lighting, someone in the household of Ben Bayis is going to accept it within right away within the 10 minutes. So he showed that the hadlaka was a covered Shabbos.
That frees her
So
up.
that frees anyone else up because she's just a shliach of everyone else in the house. The chiyuv is not on her. The chiyuv is on the balabas. She's the one that's betzuya in the house, and she was the one with the whole ma'ilchet itadas. So she has to correct it. So she lights. But someone else, everyone's mechuyev in that. And it was a gadol. So if someone's makabel Shabbos right away, within the 10 minutes, and that person has the 18 minutes.
And his preparation of the psilim, the mentions.
That's not a Kabbalah Shabbos. So now, So everyone, for a woman needs to remember she needs to have 2-3 things tonight. Let's say gadol
Yeah.
and miyad. Masha'in kain. A man has to be'emes only has miyad.
Yeah?
I don't know.
Man
I
has
have to
miyad
figure out
also?
the sort of gadol. No, he has also miyad. If he's the man, he's lighting. There is no woman lighting. The same thing, because the natives have to be lit in the covered Shabbos. That we have to accept Shabbos after the hadlaka miyad, meaning within 10 minutes. By the way, that's just Rama Bir, the Rebbe, when he used to say that he's the vinch that Mashiach should come, he used to always say, take it from miyad mamish. Why did he add the word mamish? People didn't hear it. Mamish was because in a halacha term, you say miyad, it could be 10 minutes. The Rebbe didn't want it in 10 minutes. He said miyad mamish. The word takif also is a term in halacha which has certain shiurim and vinish baki, takif. Exactly. So these lashonis that he used to say, takif or miyad, were all halacha lashonis that he used to make dafka to say. Yeah, it should be klar that I made kipshute. He used to say, takif from miyad mamish. That was the nisigman he used to say. See, when else maduyik. Now,
Mamish also has Mashiach's initials.
now the Maisa, the drash. Now, so this is the Maisa. Important day. Let's say Sev Gimel. Important day in Sev Gimel for those that have been Makabel Shabbos early. So the Maisa, come there's an interesting thing. Al pi Kabbalah, al pi Nigla, and al pi Shulchan Aruch. A person's supposed to take in Shabbos early and davening Mariv including. It's a good thing to take daven early. Mashenki leitu mukubalim, you daven late. Now, what you said about this shul that does l'chonoran and l'esh, and then they wait for Baruch. The reason is they also want to be machmer to daven Mariv like Api Kabbalah might say. Why are they doing it in this system? Saying l'chonoran is not part of Mariv. There's no inyan, even when we say al pi Kabbalah that Arizal daven ma'ariv by after tzeis, but it says clearly that Arizal would start Kabbalah Shabbos from Shkia.
He used to go to
Shkia he used to start saying L'chon Aranu, and it would nimshich up until tzeis.
Wow.
Comes that is no issue. V'adarabah, very good. So those people that feel that they need zman and they want to, those shuls that they want time, they want to start right away. Tzeis, they should be able to get home to make Kiddush early. It's very late in the summer. There's no issue with it. Anytime you could do it. You could start earlier, and you wait. And when it comes, you make sure you cheshben out the zman. At the time you hit Baruch Hu, it says Sekicham, or you make a little shir in between, a little hefsik. You make sure you say Baruch Hu, and then you yoitze. Both. You have to makabel tois Shabbos before, because remember the Chomerana itself is not a tois Shabbos.
It's I'm preparing for Shabbos.
Yeah, but he can talk in tefillah. It's like Lamagain and it's a makabel in Shabbos. Dika Shabbos. But it's not yet the Kabbalah Shabbos till Baruch Hu. So therefore, you have to makabel tois Shabbos before.
Just to back up on the mention's lighting,
Yeah.
he has to be miyad. Can he have an epic kavanah that he's going to carry something still to shul? So he lives 20 minutes away from shul, and he's lighting 15 minutes before, and he still has to carry something to shul. Is that called a sort of global by him? And
But that's the tzarech. But let's say, but he only has 10 minutes, unless someone else in the house will be kabel Shabbos within the 10 minutes, and then
he'll be potted up.
Yeah. Well, that's the 10 minutes. People don't know so much about this din about miyad. Should be mevarer. So the as I state in Shulchan Aruch that I don't believe there's any chiluk in Shiur.
Yeah, it has to be before the shkia. It has to be before the shkia. The 10 minutes could be. The 10th minute could be shkia.
No, the 10 minutes don't have to be before shkia.
It could be shkia mom.
People light candles late. You can light a minute before shkia, and you have shab. You right in with kabel Shabbos, no problem. The whole shaila, the whole vort why we light 18 minutes doesn't say anyone Shulchan Aruch. There's a lot of discussion how does many became 18 minutes. Shalayim they light 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah, and in London maybe 20 minutes. It's different places. There's not just klarazachin about why
the Yad Shabo is 10 minutes.
Yeah, the Yad Shabo is Shulchan Aruch already. The meaning of 18 minutes. These cheshbonis are minhagim of local places.
And why you Shalayim 40 minutes?
There's different explanations people try to give. It's Papoil minhagim, which is not so clear what the reasons are. People try to give different inspiration as why exactly that there are certain shitas, like almost 18 minutes, a certain shita of the Ureim that holds that really Shkia is a mill before, and a Shiur mill is 18 minutes. So you have to 18 minutes before. Well, the Maisa, we do Malacha afterwards anyways, right? But the lady I'm old doesn't do the Mamish 18 minutes, 17, 16 minutes. So it may be like the Chatchila set up the Shiur's man, Lafi the Shiur of the Ureim. But Lapoil, we don't accept the Shita of the Ureim. The Shita of the Ureim is mentioned out of the Shulchan Aruch, but we're not machmir like the Shita of the Ureim. Maybe they set up the look pension that way. In Yishalayim, it's another cheshbon Y40.
They have a minute,
It's
I think
25
minutes.
Yeah?
The look pension, I remember.
By the way, this is all Benegeya, the Meider. What about Kiddush and eating? It says Al Tereb and Sif Gimel. Kisheim sha'amalin tefillah ka'achamalin Kiddush hayoyim. Just like Meider, you're allowed to daven for Plagim Mincha on, and it's a mitzvah to do it earlier on Erev Shabbos. Also Kiddush, Yechel Kaddish v'lechol, eat the Sudim, Plagim Mincha l'mayla, afiyum lo yispal laris adayim. Even if you didn't have a Ma'ariv yet. You made the Suda before Ma'ariv. Even though you're eating during the day, even Shekar Kibble of Toysha Shabbos, Nas is the Shabbos Atzma Chol Davar, it's Mama Shabbos by you. However, says Al Terebe, Yesh Machmirin. Some are Machmir say when it comes to the Suda, you need Mamish night. Why? What does that mean? It says they say you should be mamshich yisuda into tzeis and eat one kazayis after tzeis to be mamish yoitza at night. Why? The key is shegimel suda say landu chachamash never given pamayoyim. Since Chazal learned out these 3 sudas for the 3 times, it says in the psukim by a month. The word hayoyim. Eitzal achilos man b'Shabbos, the word hayoyim meaning today, the day of Shabbos itself, not in the Tosfos. Lefich etzal la'achal b'tzuma shel yoyim v'lo b'tosefte, v'lo b'tosefte. So he brings the first opinion b'stam, the second one is yesh oimrim, yesh machmirim. The halacha is usually the klal is stam yesh oimrim. The halacha is like the stam. Why do we bring the yesh oimrim b'Shulchan Aruch? Toiv lachal shedivrayim. It's better to be choishish for the machmir. It's a toiv. The ikar din is you don't have to be mamshel for sunnah tonight. But toiv to mamshel for the kazayis. So if someone he could do it. The person should be mamshel for sunnah and have the kazayis.
He's not saying to make your suda after, but to be mamshel, if you started early, eat a new kazayis. Second kazayis.
Yeah. The whole shaila here, why he says the word kazayis, the bets you need to have a kabeya. He's makel of the shir kazayis. The yois is only a chumrah. The Yitzhak Deyes is make all the Shiur only Shiur Kazayis.
Although Lugmov is not going to help.
It's similar like if Rosh Chodesh come out on Sunday and you ate your Shabbos late, right? And you bench it. If you ate a Kazayit after
say, yeah, by Shabbos.
You could say Yalav Yov even though it's Shabbos.
Would say and Rabbi.
Yeah.
If you ate
after
says the
if you ate Kazayis after
I want to tell you something interesting in the Shulchan Aruch. It says by Pesach, and as soon as the hit says the Kichavim, you're allowed to eat chametz. It's still Pesach by you. You're not doing any malacha. You've been moisim chayil kodesh. There's no kesher one with another, like similar to what we were saying about Midah. There's no kesher. Chametz and Pesach has to do with the night. It's night and day. It's not. It's night. You're allowed to eat chametz. So therefore, in the Sudas Mashiach and the Sudas Mehilas HaChag, you can have matzahs hazaydas. It hits says in Chametz, you can still be mamshech for another hour, the tish, the fabringen.
With the
you can have chametz.
With the
and then you bench. You say Yalav Yaveh is the chen otev yem chag hamatzahs.
Even if you ate chametz.
Why? Because you ate the suda, the beginning of suda. You had the kazayis, but it was Pesach.
You don't have to be careful not to eat it because I matzah after.
No, you can eat matzah.
Once it's night, you could eat the mashkin. You could comment to bring mashkin.
Yeah,
you just have to make sure that the rope
This is
of the
a discussion over there that l'chora is a tarti d'sasri.
Right.
L'chora is a contradiction. I believe, mamash from memory, that the Alter Rebbe explains that it's 2 separate niyanim. There's no tarti d'sasri. There's no contradiction over here, because Pesach has to do with the Yom Tif, and the Isra Achilas Chametz has to do with the night. So a Moisim Achel HaKodesh is Taki Yom. There's still Pesach by me. But to say that I'm still, but I'm not also, but now I'm not also in chametz anymore. It's two separate yonim. Like sukkah, the mitzvah sukkah. If you were makabel sukkahs early, you're not. I don't think you're mechuyev to sit in a sukkah.
Right.
Because it's moisif in the Yom Tiv, but on the sukkah. And every Yom Tiv is two in Yonim. It's the Yom Tiv Shabbai, and then there's the mitzvahs, the miyuchadas. So they're two separate Yonim. Basuk is Teishu Shivas Yomim, 7 days, not more, not less. And if you're moisif Mechel HaKodesh, you're moisif that you're not doing malacha. But you're not moisif, you're not mechuyev in any other mitzvah, simcha and other Yonim, no.
In other words, if sukkah somebody double my aboli and want to make kiddush in the sukkah before this month, you can say sukkah yet. It's not mitzvah.
I don't think so. I'm not telling you about halacha.
It must wait till the night, right?
There is a big, interesting machlokes is by Shmini Atzeres, Shana Rabbah. If you take in Shmini Atzeres early, now afterwards, am I mechuyev to sit in the sukkah? Now let's say you sit in the sukkah, but do I have to make a bracha?
The bracha is still day.
It's still day. Okay, so the Taz said a very big chiddush. We don't hold halacha like the Taz. The Taz said, "Hapeh HaKodesh, the Zelbe Peh HaKodesh, the Eibishter said to us that we should sit in a sukkah 7 days." Is the same Peh HaKodesh said to us that you're allowed to be, you can be moisif from one day into the next. So if you're moisif to Shmini Atzeres, it's not sukkahs anymore. And it's mishmechuyev sits in a sukkah. We do sit lepel Shmini Atzeres. The Gemara says, the Shulchan Aruch says, Meisev Yisvinan Bruchi Le'Merachinan. The poil, the minig is by a lot of people that they don't sit in the sukkahs mamish, the kiddush. There's a lot of beauty to the taras. The minig is just a pashat al Shulchan Aruch. You have to. It's a clear din that you have to sit. Pasuk and everything. However, the ma'isa like the Taz, you're not chayiv the rice and sukkah anymore. You cannot say brach.
Anybody passes like that?
No, the ma'isa, all the pasukim, one after another, they don't agree with the Taz. The Taz is arguing on the Mashal. The Mashal held this way. The Taz says that even though the Mashal was an Avi, but he was right in the singing, and he brings many rayas. L'payel, all the achroinim, shlag of the rayas, they don't do it like the Taz was saying. You say that it's going to still be sukkahs, and you don't have the koyach to remove the mitzvah of the rayas of the sukkah teishit. I own my shayla is like the Taz. What happens if Shabbos going into a Yom Tiv? Like we had just on Shavuos. If someone accepted the Shavuos early on Shabbos, like the Taz,
Is there an Indian
Shabbos?
Is there an Indian Tosfos Yom Tov? That's the shayla.
Yeah, there is. The shayla we learn it out from Yom Kippur, the holy Tisha. Like the Taz, could he do malacha in malacha seichel nefesh on this Shabbos? It's a big pella. I don't know. I wasn't about it anymore.